Ever shared your Netflix password or lied about your age to sign up for something online? You might be a bigger outlaw than you think. The internet's legal rulebook wasn't written. It feels like it was duct taped together from absurd, outdated, and accidentally hilarious laws. Today, we're exploring the 50 absolute weirdest. 1. Can you be arrested for stealing a sword that doesn't exist? In South Korea, the answer is a shocking yes. Because online gaming is a multi-billion-dollar industry there, their laws treat valuable virtual items like rare armor or in-game currency as real-world assets. This means hacking an account to steal legendary loot isn't just a game violation. It's a prosecutable crime that can lead to fines and even jail time. The law is forced to treat your epic virtual gear with the same legal seriousness as your actual car. 2. That glowing 5-star review you left for your friend's terrible new restaurant? Technically, you may have committed a federal crime. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, considers posting fake reviews, a practice known as astroturfing, to be a form of deceptive advertising and wire fraud. In the eyes of the government, you're not just being a supportive friend. You are a co-conspirator in a scheme to mislead the public. While the FTC usually goes after the companies, not the individuals, it's a stunning reminder that your little white lie on Yelp has the legal weight of a serious offense. 3. That funny meme you made by photoshopping your friend's face onto their driver's license could technically be a felony. Most states have laws against tampering with or creating fraudulent government identification. These laws were written for serious criminals, but the language is often so broad that it could apply to digital alterations made purely as a joke. It's an incredibly unlikely prosecution, but it is a fun fact to hold over your friends. 4. Hopping on your neighbor's unsecured Wi-Fi can be considered theft of services. In many states, this falls under old laws designed to stop people from stealing cable. So when your own internet goes down and you desperately connect to Smith Family Guest to send one crucial email, you're not just being resourceful. In the eyes of the law, you're a digital cat burglar, and your loot is the ability to watch YouTube in peace. 5. In Illinois, it is illegal to knowingly let a registered sex offender use an internet-capable device in your home. While the intention is obviously safety, the real-world application is a masterpiece of awkwardness. The law technically requires you to be aware of a person's legal history before you let them check the football score on your iPad. It basically mandates the single most uncomfortable conversation you could ever have with your plumber. 6. Florida has a law specifically to prevent internet cafes from operating as secret, unlicensed casinos. This was to shut down shady storefronts where people weren't just checking their email, but gambling on digital slot machines. Still, the law accidentally paints this incredible film noir scene. A grizzled detective kicks down the door, not to bust a poker game, but to catch someone betting their life savings on a high-stakes game of solitaire. 7. A simple emoji can be treated as a legally binding contract. A Canadian judge recently ruled that a thumbs-up response was a valid acceptance of a business deal, costing a farmer over $80,000 when he failed to deliver. This isn't an isolated case. Courts are now forced to interpret the legal weight of these little digital pictures as evidence of intent, turning lawyers into emoji detectives and your casual group chat into a potential minefield of accidental signed contracts. 8. You can thank Europe for every single accept all cookies pop-up you've ever clicked. The EU's GDPR law requires websites to get your consent before they track you. It's a landmark piece of privacy legislation whose main effect on the rest of the world has been to create a universal, mandatory, and deeply annoying click-through screen that stands between you and the content you actually want to see. It's a bouncer for every single website. 9. A video game retailer once legally owned the immortal souls of 7,500 of its customers. I am not making this up. In 2010, the UK company GameStation added a clause to its online terms and conditions, stating that by placing an order, the user grants them a non-transferable option to claim, for now and forevermore, your immortal soul. It was a prank to highlight how nobody reads these agreements. And they even included an opt-out link. Only 12% of users noticed and clicked it. The rest, legally speaking, sold their souls for a video game. 10. And then there's Nevada. A state known for its subtlety decided to make it a crime to use a computer to publish any words or language which are calculated to frighten, intimidate, or cause terror. The beautiful ambiguity here is breathtaking. What qualifies as frightening language? A ghost story? This law effectively makes it illegal to use the internet to say boo with too much enthusiasm. 11. That simple Instagram giveaway for a free product is governed by a labyrinth of laws designed to stop illegal gambling. If a promotion has a prize, an element of chance, and requires consideration from the entrant, which can be a purchase or even something as simple as mandatory tagging and sharing, it's legally considered an illegal private lottery. That's why you always see the phrase "no purchase necessary" buried in the rules. It's a legal escape hatch that transforms a potential felony into a marketing campaign. So that influencer giving away a Peloton is walking a very thin legal tightrope. 12. In Michigan, to be guilty of cyberbullying, you have to do it repeatedly and willfully. This specific wording led to a strange legal gray area. The law was intended to target sustained harassment, but it implies that a single, devastatingly cruel online comment might not be illegal as long as you don't do it again. It's a law that basically gives every citizen one free, legally protected shot to be an absolute monster online. Use it wisely. 13. That scathing one-star Yelp review you wrote could get you sued for defamation. While opinions are protected speech, stating a false fact can land you in court. Saying, "The waiter was rude" is an opinion. Saying, "The chef spit in my food" when they didn't is a factual claim. And if it damages the restaurant's business, they can sue you for libel. This has led to strategic lawsuits against consumers designed to silence bad reviews. So, where do you draw the line between an honest, brutal opinion and a statement that could cost you thousands in legal fees? 14. Using a bot to buy all the tickets to a popular concert before humans can is a federal crime. The Better Online Ticket Sales Act, or BOTS Act, was signed into law in 2016. It makes it illegal to use software to bypass security measures on ticket-selling websites. While it hasn't completely stopped scalpers, it's incredibly satisfying to know there's a specific federal law designed to punish the very people who made it impossible for you to see Taylor Swift. 15. If you die without a plan, your digital life could be deleted forever or held in legal limbo. What happens to your photos, your social media accounts, your emails? In many states, they're legally inaccessible to your family. To combat this, places like Delaware have enacted laws allowing you to name a digital executor in your will, granting someone the legal right to manage your online afterlife. Without it, your most precious memories could be locked behind a password that no one is legally allowed to break. 16. In Europe, you have the right to be forgotten. This is a real, legally enforced power under GDPR that allows individuals to request that search engines like Google delink their name from search results about them, especially if the information is outdated or irrelevant. It's a fascinating and bizarre attempt to legislate memory itself, forcing a global information network to selectively forget things. It's like trying to make the ocean forget a specific drop of water. 17. California once tried to make certain pop-up ads illegal. Back in 2004, the state passed a law targeting pop-ups that couldn't be easily closed or that generated an endless cascade of more pop-ups. It was a noble, heroic attempt to slay the multi-headed hydra of internet annoyance. The law is still technically on the books, but it's a relic from a simpler time, a monument to our initial, naive belief that we could somehow make advertising on the internet less annoying. 18. Police can ask Google for data on every single person who was near the scene of a crime. These are called geofence warrants, and they are constitutionally terrifying. Investigators draw a digital box on a map and demand a list of all the devices that were inside it during a specific time frame. This means you could become a suspect in a serious crime just for walking your dog or getting a coffee at the wrong time. Is this a brilliant crime-fighting tool or the most efficient digital dragnet ever created? 19. Every time you share a meme, you're taking a gamble with federal copyright law. The original image is almost always copyrighted material, and when you add your own text, you create what lawyers call an unauthorized derivative work. The only thing protecting the internet's entire sense of humor is the notoriously slippery doctrine of fair use. But fair use is a defense, not a right, and is decided case by case. This means our global meme culture operates on a fragile gentleman's agreement not to sue each other into oblivion. 20. Is opening a loot box in a video game the same as pulling the lever on a slot machine? Governments around the world are trying to answer that question, and the results are chaotic. In countries like Belgium, certain loot boxes have been declared a form of illegal gambling, forcing game companies to remove them. In the US, it's a massive, ongoing debate. This has led to the surreal spectacle of senators who likely think Fortnite is a 2-week period, holding serious hearings on the ethics of virtual hats and weapon skins. The law is struggling to decide if paying $5 for a chance to get a cool dragon sword is a harmless hobby or an unregulated casino for kids. 21. You legally own almost nothing you've ever bought online. That $1,000 collection of skins in a video game? That library of movies on your streaming account? You don't own them. According to the end-user license agreement you agreed to without reading, you've only purchased a license to access the content. This means the company can revoke that license at any time, for any reason. It's the legal equivalent of buying a house, only to discover you were just renting, and the landlord can change the locks on a whim. All that real money you spent can vanish into the digital ether with a single click. 22. Your boss has the legal right to read your work emails, and there's almost nothing you can do about it. The Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986 has a massive exception for employers. Since the company owns the computer network, they are considered the owners of all the data that passes through it. That venting email to your coworker about your terrible manager? Legally, it's company property. 23. Your phone is not legally your castle, especially at the US border. Thanks to a legal concept called the border search exception, your Fourth Amendment rights against warrantless searches are significantly weaker when you're entering the country. U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents have the authority to demand you unlock your phone, laptop, and other devices for inspection, all without a warrant. Refusal can lead to you being denied entry or having your devices confiscated for weeks. This creates a bizarre legal twilight zone where the most private details of your entire life, stored on the device in your pocket, have less legal protection than a suitcase full of clothes. 24. It's a federal crime to be a cyber squatter. Remember the early days of the internet when someone would buy the domain name tomhanks.com and then try to sell it to the actor for an obscene amount of money? The Anti-Cyber Squatting Consumer Protection Act of 1999 made that illegal. The law targets people who register a domain name in bad faith with the intent to profit from someone else's trademark. It's the official legal reason why some guy in his basement doesn't own Coca-Cola.com. 25. You might be a federal criminal if you've ever violated a website's terms of service. This gem comes from the 1986 Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, a law passed because the movie War Games made Congress panic. It criminalizes exceeding authorized access on a computer. Some courts have decided this includes simply breaking a site's rules. Remember when you told MySpace you were 18, even though you were 15? You didn't just lie, you potentially committed a federal offense. Be honest, have you ever actually read the terms and conditions before becoming an unknowing outlaw? 26. That screenshot of a text conversation you sent to your group chat? Technically, it could be a copyright violation. Under US law, the person who writes an original message automatically owns the copyright to those words. By screenshotting and sharing it without their permission, you are republishing their literary work. While you won't get sued over a friend's typo, this exact legal theory has been used in high-profile cases. It's a bizarre reality where every group chat is a hotbed of casual copyright infringement. 27. Using an ad blocker is perfectly legal, but not because anyone has officially said so. It's legal because no one has been able to successfully make it illegal. In Europe, several major publishers have sued the makers of AdBlock Plus, claiming their business is a form of extortion or unlawful interference. They've almost always lost. This leaves ad blocking in a state of beautiful legal limbo. Are you a savvy consumer exercising your right to a clean browsing experience, or are you a digital freeloader? The law has no official answer. 28. Can you get arrested for what you scream in a Call of Duty lobby? The answer is a legally fascinating maybe. The First Amendment protects speech, but not a true threat of violence. This creates the surreal scenario where courts must decide if rage-fueled trash talk is a genuine crime. Imagine a prosecutor, straight-faced, explaining to a jury why a stolen in-game item prompted a violent threat. The court then has to determine if a reasonable person would feel truly endangered, or if it's just part of the absurd culture of online gaming. 29. In China, gamers are required by law to use their real names and national ID numbers to register for online games. This is part of a massive state effort to curb video game addiction among minors by enforcing strict playtime limits, which are tracked by the government. It's a fascinating, and to many in the West, a chilling example of a government using the internet's infrastructure not just to regulate speech, but to directly manage the free time of its citizens. 30. That little hashtag ad isn't just a suggestion, it's a federal requirement. The Federal Trade Commission mandates that influencers must clearly disclose when they're paid to promote a product. This rule creates the hilarious legal duty for them to shatter the illusion of their perfect, authentic life and basically admit, okay, this part is a commercial. It's a federally enforced moment of honesty in the world's most curated reality. 31. Washington state made it illegal for businesses to send emails with false or misleading subject lines. This was a noble, early attempt to fight the rising tide of spam. It's a law that is as adorable as it is completely and utterly hopeless. It's like trying to make it illegal for a fish to be wet. The entire business model of spam relies on misleading subject lines like, "You won't believe what we're giving you." This law is basically a polite suggestion in a room full of people screaming. 32. That clever Wi-Fi name you're so proud of could land you in legal trouble. Naming your network FBI Surveillance Van or Al-Qaeda Free Wi-Fi might seem funny, but it has led to real police responses. In some cases, a name can be interpreted as a true threat, like naming your hotspot Detonation in 5 minutes. While prosecution is rare, it's a reminder that your digital jokes can have very real-world consequences. Is your Wi-Fi name just funny? Or is it funny enough to get your door kicked in by a SWAT team? 33. The U.S. government operates under a bizarre legal loophole where it believes it doesn't need a warrant to read any of your emails that are more than 180 days old. This comes from the Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986. Back then, it was assumed any email left on a server for 6 months was abandoned, like a letter left in a dusty attic. The law has never been updated to reflect that we now store our entire lives in our inboxes forever. It's a digital fossil from a time before Gmail even existed. 34. It is a federal crime to lie online about receiving a military medal. The Stolen Valor Act makes it illegal to falsely claim you've been awarded military decorations with the intent to get money, property, or some other tangible benefit. This law directly applies to that guy on your Facebook feed with a suspiciously heroic biography. It's one of the few instances where a specific type of lie told on social media can land you in federal prison. 35. One of the most legendary legal wars in internet history was fought between a small North Carolina computer company called Nissan Computer and the giant car manufacturer Nissan Motors over the domain Nissan.com. A man named Uzi Nissan had registered his family name as his business domain in 1994. The car company, arriving late to the internet party, sued him for $10 million. The legal battle lasted for 8 brutal years, costing Uzi Nissan millions. In the end, the court sided with the small businessman, a landmark ruling that affirmed that just because you're a giant corporation, you don't automatically own every version of your name online. 36. The most infamous misuse of a cyber law involved a heartbreaking MySpace incident from 2006. An adult woman created a fake profile of a teenage boy to relentlessly harass a 13-year-old girl, which led to a tragic outcome. With no specific cyberbullying laws to use, prosecutors got creative. They charged the woman under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, arguing that by making a fake profile, she had violated MySpace's terms of service and thus exceeded her authorized access. The conviction was eventually thrown out, but the case is a landmark example of the law using a clumsy, decades-old tool to address a painful and modern problem. 37. What happens to your cryptocurrency when you die? The law has absolutely no idea. Crypto is designed to be decentralized and controlled only by a private key. If you die without passing that key on in a secure way, your digital fortune, whether it's $5 or $5 million, is effectively gone forever. It's locked in a digital vault, and there is no court order or legal process on Earth that can open it. How many digital treasure chests are already lost forever in the ether simply because their owners forgot to write down a password? 38. The entire universe of fan fiction exists in a state of beautiful, legally precarious harmony. Technically, writing a story about characters from a famous movie or book is creating an unauthorized derivative work, which is a form of copyright infringement. The only reason this massive creative community thrives is because the original creators and corporations have largely chosen to look the other way. They know that suing their most passionate fans would be a public relations nightmare. So this entire genre operates on an unspoken, fragile truce. 39. Let's settle this once and for all. Using a fake name online is not illegal. There is no federal law against using a pseudonym on the internet. The confusion comes from the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which we've talked about. Some have tried to argue that using a fake name violates a website's terms of service, making it unauthorized access. But courts have consistently rejected this. So while Facebook might ban you for not using your real name, the police won't. It's a violation of corporate policy, not a violation of the law. 40. In 13 US states, you can be sued for talking trash about a vegetable. I'm serious. They're called food disparagement laws, created to protect agricultural industries. If your viral TikTok falsely claims that Idaho potatoes cause existential dread, the entire potato lobby could hit you with a lawsuit. These laws are so powerful, Oprah was famously dragged into court for her comments on beef. It's a bizarre legal world where a carrot has more protection from online slander than most people. 41. In Tennessee, sharing your Netflix password is a crime. Seriously, in 2011, the state passed a law to stop hackers from selling login info in bulk. But the law was written with the subtlety of a sledgehammer, making it broad enough to cover you letting your mom use your account. While no one's actually getting hauled off to jail for this, it does mean millions of us are technically lawbreakers. Suddenly that, "Are you still watching?" message feels less like a suggestion and more like an interrogation. 42. Using a VPN to watch a show that's not available in your country is not a crime, but it might get you sued for breach of contract. While VPNs themselves are legal, using one to bypass a geographic restriction is a direct violation of the terms of service of nearly every streaming platform. While Netflix isn't going to sue you for watching British TV, this legal reality is what allows them to ban your account without a refund. You're not a criminal. You're just an officially recognized rule breaker. 43. The biggest lie ever told on the internet wasn't a scam. It was your birthday. This is because of a law called COPPA, designed to stop sites from collecting data from kids under 13 without parental consent. For tech companies, getting that permission was a logistical nightmare, so they just banned under 13s in their rules. The result? A law meant to protect children accidentally made lying about your age the secret password for an entire generation to join the online world. 44. You probably cannot leave your legendary World of Warcraft sword to your children in your will. Almost every video game's end-user license agreement states that you do not own your in-game items. You are merely licensing them. Since you don't own them, you can't pass them on as part of your estate. This creates a bizarre legal situation where the digital assets you spent thousands of hours acquiring are legally considered worthless and will simply vanish when you do. 45. Are you sure the person you're arguing with on Twitter is actually a person? In California, they have a law for that. The state made it illegal for a bot to interact with a human online to sell a product or influence a vote without first disclosing that it's a bot. This is the state's official attempt to combat armies of fake accounts and automated systems that spread misinformation and manipulate online conversations. It's a bizarre and fascinating piece of legislation where the government is legally forcing programs to be honest about not being human. It's like a CAPTCHA test in reverse, legally requiring the bot to admit it can't pick out all the traffic lights. 46. That I agree button. You click a dozen times a day is a legally binding signature thanks to the E-Sign Act of 2000. This federal law grants electronic signatures and records the same legal weight as their paper and ink counterparts. It is the invisible bedrock of all e-commerce, from your Amazon purchases to your mortgage application. We treat this powerful legal act with the same casual indifference as closing a pop-up ad. Yet with that one click, we are legally binding ourselves to contracts we have absolutely never read. 47. The government has argued it has more right to your search history than to a diary locked in your desk. This is because of the third-party doctrine, a legal theory that says you lose a reasonable expectation of privacy for information you voluntarily share with a third party. Since you voluntarily give your search queries to Google, the government has argued it doesn't need as strong a warrant to access them. The deepest, weirdest, most personal thoughts you've ever typed into that search bar are legally considered semi-public information. 48. The Streisand effect is a legal phenomenon, not a law, but it's a core rule of the internet. It was named after Barbra Streisand, who in 2003 sued a photographer to have a picture of her Malibu mansion removed from an online collection of coastline photos. Before the lawsuit, the photo had been viewed 6 times. Thanks to the publicity from the lawsuit, it was viewed by nearly 500,000 people in the next month. It's the internet's unofficial law. The most aggressive legal attempts to hide something online will almost certainly make it go viral. 49. The entire internet as we know it, every comment section, every review, every video you upload, is only possible because of 26 specific words in a law called Section 230. Here's what it says in simple terms. If you own a platform, you are not legally responsible for the dumb, illegal, or awful things your users post on it. Think of YouTube as a landlord. This law says the landlord can't be sued if a tenant does something wrong inside their apartment. Without this magic legal shield, YouTube would be sued into oblivion for every bad comment, and the internet would become a sanitized, corporate, and incredibly boring place. It is the single most important law you've never heard of. Okay, we've covered 49 points and there's just one left. But before we get to our grand finale, it's time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the most incredible rule from today's list goes to GameStation's Immortal Soul Clause. Simply because it was a deliberate prank that legally proved the single greatest truth of the internet, nobody ever reads the terms and conditions. Do you agree with our verdict? Or did another point deserve this dubious honor? Let us know in the comments what you think. And now, for our final number. 50. In Virginia, it's illegal to use a computer to coerce, intimidate, or harass someone. The thing is, the law never bothered to define intimidate. Legal experts have pointed out that under a strict reading, an angry email typed entirely in capital letters could technically qualify. So next time your uncle forwards a political conspiracy theory with the subject line, "Read now," just remember you're not just dealing with questionable taste. You're witnessing a digital felon in the wild. So, from emojis that can be used to sign contracts to digital assets that are equivalent to real cars, it is clear that we live in a digital world governed by analog rules. It's a world where the technology is from the 21st century, but the legal instruction manual was often written in the 20th. Out of curiosity, how much of your free time do you usually spend online? If you enjoyed this journey through legal insanity, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss our next exploration.